I wasn't supposed to be home. That's what made it perfect. Jessica thought I was on a business trip. 3 days in Chicago, meetings, late nights, the whole thing. I even kissed her goodbye that morning, suitcase in hand, and watched her wave at me from the doorway like the perfect wife. But I never got on that plane. Something had been gnawing at me for weeks. Little things. The way she started locking her phone. The sudden girls' nights that popped up like weeds in our calendar. The shift in her tone when she talked to me. Lighter, almost indifferent, like I was background noise in her life. But the real kicker? The perfume. Jessica had a signature scent. Soft, floral, familiar. But lately, when she came home late, she smelled different. A sharper cologne clung to her like a ghost. Something rich, masculine. So I set a trap. I told her I had to leave at dawn. I even let her hear my fake Uber pull up, stood outside for a minute, then walked 2 blocks to my friend David's house. From there, I watched our door. Waited. For hours, nothing. Just an ordinary day. And then, just as the sun dipped low, Jessica came home. But she wasn't alone. A black Mustang pulled up. Sleek, expensive. Not ours. The driver door opened first, and out stepped a man. Tall. Confident. The kind of guy who walks like the world belongs to him. Jessica slid out from the passenger side, laughing as he whispered something in her ear. And then she kissed him. Not a peck. Not a drunken mistake. A deep, lingering kiss right there in front of our home. In front of the house where we built a life together. I gripped my phone so hard my knuckles turned white. My pulse thundered in my ears. I could have confronted her right there. Could have stormed across the street, thrown open the door, and ended it all in a fiery explosion of rage. But no, I wanted more. I wanted to see how deep the betrayal ran. So I waited. 20 minutes later, her bedroom light flicked on. Our bedroom. That's when I moved. I crossed the street like a ghost, silent, calculated. My key slid into the lock. The door opened without a sound. From upstairs, soft laughter. Low voices. A giggle that didn't belong to me. I walked forward, step by step, my heart a hammer in my chest. And then, just as I reached the top of the stairs, I made my presence known. A deliberate cough. Loud. Purposeful. The laughter stopped. A shuffle of movement. Then Jessica's voice, sharp, panicked. What the? I stepped into the doorway. And there she was. Sitting on our bed, tangled in sheets, wearing nothing but a thin excuse of a nightgown. And beside her, the man from the Mustang, shirtless, wide-eyed, like a deer staring down an oncoming truck. Jessica's breath hitched. You're supposed to be in Chicago? I finished for her, my voice steady, dangerously calm. I glanced at the man. Guess you didn't expect the husband to come home early. Huh? His Adam's apple bobbed. He looked to Jessica, waiting for her to speak. And then she did something that shattered whatever was left of my restraint. She rolled her eyes. Rolled. Her eyes. Well, she exhaled, brushing her hair back like I was inconveniencing her. This is awkward. I could only stare. Stare at the woman I thought I knew. The woman who didn't even have the decency to pretend to be ashamed. And just like that, I knew this wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a one-time thing. This was a life she had built behind my back. And I was about to tear it apart. I didn't react right away. I let the silence stretch, let it hang in the air like a loaded gun. Jessica shifted under the sheets, her expression flickering between irritation and something else. Something calculating. The man beside her, the bastard from the Mustang, just sat there, frozen like he was still buffering. And then Jessica smirked. Not nervous. Not guilty. A smirk. You're really making a big deal out of this, aren't you? She said, her voice slow, almost bored. I blinked. Once. Twice. My fingers curled into fists. Big deal? My voice came out quiet, dangerously controlled. You're in our bed with another man, Jessica. She tilted her head. Oh please, don't act like this is some huge shock. You've been different for months. Emotionally checked out, always busy, always tired. What did you expect me to do? Just wait for you to notice me again? I laughed. Actually laughed. So this is my fault? Jessica rolled her eyes. I'm just saying, maybe if you put half as much effort into this marriage as you did into catching me, we wouldn't be here. That was it. That was the moment something inside me snapped. I turned my attention to Mustang Guy. He was still shirtless, still wide-eyed, looking at me like he expected me to lunge at him. "What's your name?" I asked. He swallowed hard. Jason. Jason, I repeated. "Tell me something. Did she tell you she was married? Or are you just as much of an idiot as you look?" Jessica scoffed. "Oh my God. Don't be dramatic." But Jason hesitated. His jaw twitched. "That's when I knew." "You knew," I said, my voice dropping. "You knew she was married, and you still—" Jason lifted his hands in a half-hearted shrug. "She told me you guys were, basically done." I let out a slow breath. Jessica didn't even flinch. "Wow," I said. "You really told him that?" She crossed her arms. "Well, you're acting like a crazy person right now, so maybe I had a point." "Unbelievable. Unbelievable." I took a step forward. Jason flinched. "Relax," I said. "I'm not gonna hit you. Not yet, anyway." Instead, I grabbed the edge of the sheets and yanked them clean off the bed. Jessica shrieked as she scrambled to cover herself. But Jason? He just sat there, looking exposed and pathetic. "Get up," I said. He hesitated. "Get—" Jason obeyed. Now, I continued, my voice steel, "You're gonna get dressed, you're gonna walk out of this house, and you're never coming back. You got that?" Jason grabbed his shirt so fast he nearly tripped. He fumbled with his pants, his hands shaking. "Good. Let him be scared." But Jessica? She just sat there, legs crossed, arms folded, watching me with that same smug expression. "You're really doing this?" she asked, voice laced with amusement. I turned to her. "Doing this? You did this, Jessica." She shrugged. "Oh, grow up. People cheat. It happens. Maybe if you weren't so obsessed with catching me, you would have been more fun to be around." I stared at her. For the first time in years, I really saw her. And I felt nothing. No love. No heartbreak. No sadness. Just disgust. Jason, now fully dressed, looked between us like he was debating whether he should say something. But in the end, he did the smartest thing he could. He bolted. Out the bedroom, down the stairs, out the front door. Gone. Jessica sighed dramatically. "Great. Now you scared him off." I exhaled through my nose. "You know what?" I said, shaking my head. "You're pathetic." Jessica scoffed. "Oh, please. You act like you're so much better than me." I took a slow step forward, lowering my voice. "No, Jessica," I said. "I am better than you." She opened her mouth to respond, but I didn't let her. I turned on my heel and walked out, down the stairs, out the door. And as I stepped outside, a single thought rang through my mind. This isn't over. Not by a long shot. I stood outside, the night air sharp in my lungs. My hands still trembled. Not from sadness, not from heartbreak, but from the sheer rage boiling inside me. Jessica had sat there in our bed, wrapped in our sheets, looking at me like I was the one causing problems. Like I was the one ruining her night. No guilt, no shame, not even an ounce of regret. No, she was going to regret this. I took out my phone. My fingers moved on their own, muscle memory leading me straight to the person I needed right now. David. The phone rang once, twice. Then, "Yo, didn't expect to hear from you so soon." "What's—" "She's cheating," I said flatly. "Caught her. Just now." Silence. Then a sharp inhale. "You serious?" "Dead serious." I exhaled, pacing the driveway. "Some guy named Jason. She brought him to the house, to our bed. And my voice cracked slightly. I clenched my jaw. She didn't even care, man. She just sat there, smirking, like she got caught sneaking an extra cookie from the jar." David cursed under his breath. "All right, what do you need?" That's why he was my best friend. "No, I told you so, no hesitation, just action." "I need proof," I muttered. "Solid proof. Something that makes it impossible for her to lie her way out of this." David was quiet for a second. Then his voice turned sharp. "Check the cameras." My whole body stilled. The cameras. Jessica had always hated them. Said they made the house feel like a prison. But after that break-in down the street last year, I insisted. Installed them myself. One in the living room. One in the hallway. One pointed directly at the front door. And Jessica? Jessica never remembered to turn them off. I turned on my heel, stormed back inside. Jessica was still upstairs, probably fuming that I had dared to interrupt her little evening. Good. Let her stew. I moved fast, pulling up the security app on my phone, scrolling back through the footage, and there it was. Timestamp: 7:42 p.m. Jessica stepping out of a sleek black Mustang, laughing. Hair perfect, makeup flawless, wearing the same red dress I had bought her for our anniversary. Not a single trace of hesitation. And then Jason, tall, broad-shouldered, smug. His hand slid around her waist like it belonged there. And the moment she stepped onto our porch, she kissed him. Full on, no hesitation. Like it was the most natural thing in the world. My stomach churned. I forced myself to keep watching. They walked inside. She led him in, moving with the kind of ease that made my blood boil. She wasn't nervous, wasn't sneaky, because this wasn't new. This wasn't some spur-of-the-moment mistake. This was routine. I clenched my jaw so hard it ached. Then I forwarded the footage straight to my email. Then to David. Then to a lawyer. Jessica thought she had power here. She thought she could smirk her way through this, gaslight me into thinking I was the problem. She had no idea who she was dealing with. Footsteps creaked upstairs. Then her voice too casual. "Are you seriously still here?" I didn't answer. Just hit play on my phone, letting the audio of her laughter and the sound of Jason's voice fill the house. The silence that followed was deafening. Then a sharp inhale. "Oh my God. Are you spying on me now?" I turned, slowly, locking eyes with her as she stood on the stairs in nothing but a silk robe, arms crossed like I was the one who had done something wrong. "No, Jessica," I said, voice cold. "I'm catching you." Her lips parted. For the first time that night I saw it, realization, a flicker of panic in her eyes. I took a step forward. "You want to play games?" I said quietly. "Let's play." Because I was done being the fool in her story. Now, I was taking control. Jessica was good at lying. Too good. For years, she had twisted the truth so smoothly that I never saw the cracks. But now she was standing on the stairs in nothing but a robe, caught. And for the first time, she wasn't in control. I saw it in the way her fingers clenched the railing, in the way her lips pressed together, calculating. She was looking for a way out, but there wasn't one. Not this time. "Spying on me," she scoffed, flipping her hair over her shoulder. "You seriously went through security footage? That's pathetic." I laughed under my breath. Pathetic? I stepped closer, holding up my phone. The video was still playing, her walking up to the porch, kissing Jason, bringing him inside. "You want to talk about pathetic? Because this right here," I jabbed at the screen. "This is what pathetic looks like." Jessica's jaw tightened. Then, just like that, the mask slid back into place. She sighed dramatically. "Fine. You want to do this? Let's do this." She descended the stairs slowly, like she was choosing to engage, like this was some minor inconvenience. "Yes, I cheated. You caught me. Congratulations. Now what?" My grip on the phone tightened. "Now what?" I repeated, my voice deadly calm. "You don't even care, do you?" She rolled her eyes. "Oh my God. Stop being so dramatic. What do you want? An apology? Some big tearful confession? Grow up, this happens all the time." I stared at her. "You're unbelievable," I muttered. Jessica smirked. "You used to think that was a good thing." The sheer audacity. I could feel my blood pressure rising, my pulse drumming in my ears. But instead of yelling, instead of breaking something, I took a slow, measured breath. And then I smiled. Jessica's smirk faltered, just for a second. "All right," I said. "Since you're so casual about this, let's be adults. Let's settle things." Jessica arched a brow. "Settle what?" I turned the phone toward her. "I just sent this footage to my lawyer." The smirk disappeared. For the first time all night, she looked nervous. "You're bluffing," she said. But her voice wasn't as steady. I shrugged. "Am I?" Jessica's eyes darted to the phone, then to me, then back again. I could see the gears turning in her head, the slow realization that this wasn't just another argument she could wiggle her way out of. She knew what this meant. It meant divorce. It meant her reputation would be shredded. It meant I had the upper hand, and she had nothing. "You're really doing this," she said, her voice softer now, less cocky. "Yeah," I said. "I really am." She exhaled through her nose. "Wow. I always thought if we broke up, it'd be because of me getting bored, not because you actually grew a backbone." I gritted my teeth. She was still trying to win. But it didn't matter, because I had already won. I'm leaving, I said simply, walking past her toward the door. I'll send someone for my things. And you? I glanced over my shoulder. You get to sit here in the mess you made. Jessica didn't stop me. She just stood there, watching as I walked out the door, out of her life. And for the first time in a long time, I felt free. I didn't look back. Not when I stepped off the porch. Not when I climbed into my car. Not when I pulled out of the driveway and left her standing there in the house we built together, wearing nothing but a silk robe and a stunned expression. Jessica thought she had power over me. She thought she could smirk and roll her eyes and talk her way out of this like she had so many times before. But this time, she lost. Or at least that's what I thought. I barely made it 2 blocks before my phone started buzzing. Jessica. I ignored it. Then came the texts. First, they were predictable. Wow, so you're just running away? At least have the decency to talk to me like an adult. This is so childish, you know that? I kept driving. Then the shift. You're making a mistake. You don't want to do this. Come back so we can fix this. Fix this? I actually laughed. She thought this was something that could be patched up. That I'd be stupid enough to give her another chance. I parked outside David's apartment, my hands still gripping the wheel. Then another text. Just one. One that sent a cold chill crawling up my spine. You have no idea what I'm capable of. I stared at the screen. Then, before I could even process that, another one came through. You really think you won? Watch what happens next. And that's when I realized Jessica wasn't done. She wasn't going to let me walk away that easily. No, she was about to play dirty. And I needed to be ready. I stared at my phone. Jessica's last message glowing on the screen like a warning light. You really think you won? Watch what happens next. A slow, cold dread crept into my gut. I had seen Jessica lie. I had seen her manipulate. But something about this felt different. I locked my phone, exhaled sharply, and pushed out of my car. I wasn't about to play into whatever twisted game she was setting up. David's apartment was on the 3rd floor, the kind of place that always smelled like old takeout and cheap air freshener. I knocked once before the door swung open. David took one look at me and stepped aside. Come in. I walked past him into the living room, dropping onto the couch. David shut the door and leaned against it, arms crossed. So, he said, what's the damage? I ran a hand down my face. She's unbothered. No guilt, no remorse. Acts like I'm the crazy one for catching her. David whistled low. And now? I unlocked my phone, held up the screen. Now she's threatening something. David read the message. His easygoing expression darkened. Yeah, that's not good. I don't know what she means by it. I leaned forward, elbows on my knees. But I do know Jessica. She's not gonna just let this go. David sat across from me, thinking. She could be bluffing. Maybe. He studied me for a moment. Then, slowly, he said, you know, she has just as much to lose as you do. I frowned. What do you mean? David shrugged. You're the stable one. The one with a good job, solid reputation, no skeletons. Jessica? She's been cheating. She's reckless. If this turns ugly, she's got way more to explain than you do. I considered that. He wasn't wrong. Jessica liked control. She liked being on top. But if she lost that control, if she felt like she was slipping, she'd do whatever it took to flip the script. That's when my phone buzzed again. I glanced down. Another message. Jessica, hope you're ready for the fallout. Because I'm just getting started. David leaned over, read the text, and let out a low laugh. She's panicking. She knows she screwed up, and now she's throwing punches just to see what lands. I wasn't so sure. Jessica wasn't panicking. She was plotting. And whatever was coming next, I needed to be ready. I didn't sleep. Not because I was sad. Not because I was heartbroken. Because I knew Jessica was about to make her move. And she didn't disappoint. At 7 a.m., my phone buzzed again. But this time it wasn't from Jessica. It was my boss. Hey, can you come in early? We need to talk. My stomach dropped. Jessica wouldn't. Would she? I had a sick feeling I already knew the answer. By 7:45 a.m., I was in my boss's office. He wasn't alone. Char was there. I sat down, keeping my face neutral. My boss cleared his throat. We received a concerning complaint about you last night. I didn't blink. From who? He hesitated. An anonymous source. I exhaled sharply. Let me guess. Jessica? His lips pressed together. We can't disclose, I laughed. Actually laughed. You've got to be kidding me. The HR rep shifted uncomfortably. We just need to ask a few questions. There were allegations of volatile behavior, possible threats. She was trying to paint me as dangerous. I leaned forward, locking eyes with my boss. Let me make this easy for you. My wife, well, soon-to-be ex-wife, is retaliating because I caught her cheating. I have video evidence, security footage, time-stamped, undeniable proof. HR blinked. Video evidence? Yes. I pulled up my email, opened the footage, and placed my phone on the desk. Watch it. My boss hesitated, then hit play. I watched his expression change as the footage played. Jessica laughing, Jessica kissing Jason, Jessica leading him inside without a care in the world. When it ended, he sighed. Jesus. I leaned back. So, do you still think I'm the problem? Silence. Then the HR rep cleared her throat. Well, this certainly changes things. Yeah. I bet it does. By 9 a.m., I was back in my car, gripping the wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. Jessica really thought she could ruin me, but she had underestimated who she was dealing with. I took out my phone and dialed her number. She picked up on the second ring. Oh, so you do want to talk? Her voice was light, playful. I smiled, but there was no humor in it. Nice try, Jessica. But if you're gonna destroy someone, maybe don't leave a trail of evidence proving you're a liar. She went silent. You called my job? I continued, my voice cold. Tried to paint me as some kind of threat? For what? Because you got caught? Jessica exhaled. Annoyed. Oh, relax. You still have your precious little job, don't you? Yeah. But now you have a problem. She scoffed. Oh, really? I leaned back. Yeah. Because now I'm done playing nice. She laughed. What, you're gonna try and get back at me? Please. You wouldn't even know where to start. I grinned. She had no idea. You're right, I said smoothly. But my lawyer does. Silence. A long, tense silence. Then, for the first time, Jessica sounded nervous. Wait, what? I'm going for everything, Jessica. The house, the accounts, everything I can take. And guess what? Thanks to that little stunt you pulled with my job, I have even more proof that you're a manipulative liar. Her breathing quickened. You wouldn't, I cut her off. I would. And I will. And the best part? There's nothing you can do about it. Jessica was finally realizing she had lost control. And I was just getting started. The silence on the other end of the phone was delicious. Jessica, who had been so smug, so confident, so untouchable, was finally realizing she had lost. You're bluffing, she said. But her voice had lost its edge. I smirked. Am I? A shaky breath. You don't have a case. What, because I cheated? That's not enough to take everything, and you know it. I leaned back in my seat, letting the moment stretch. You're right, I said finally. Cheating alone wouldn't be enough. She let out a short, relieved laugh. But, I continued, lying to my job? Trying to set me up as unstable? That's malicious intent. And thanks to security footage and witnesses, I can prove exactly what kind of person you are. Jessica inhaled sharply. Witnesses? I let the word hang in the air, waiting for it to sink in. David, my boss, Char. Every single person who had seen the security footage, heard her accusations, and knew the truth. Her plan had backfired spectacularly. You don't have witnesses, she snapped. You're making that up. I chuckled. You'll find out soon enough. Her breath hitched. For the first time in years, I could hear her losing control. Listen, she rushed, her tone shifting. I was upset. Okay? I said some things, but I didn't mean for it to go this far. You don't have to do this. I tilted my head. I don't have to? Jessica exhaled through her nose. We can work something out. Split things evenly. No lawyers, no drama. I grinned. Oh, now you want to be reasonable? Silence. You had your chance, Jessica. You made your move. Now it's my turn. I hung up. 10:30 a.m. My lawyer's office. David met me there. His expression unreadable as we sat in the waiting area. You sure about this? He asked. I nodded. More than I've ever been. Jessica had spent years thinking she could manipulate her way through life, twisting reality to fit her needs. She never thought she'd meet someone who could outplay her. The receptionist called my name. I stood, adjusted my jacket, and stepped forward. Game on. Jessica always thought she was the smartest person in the room, the one pulling the strings, the one who could twist any situation to her advantage. But today she was about to learn what it felt like to lose. The lawyer's office was cold, sleek, professional. Exactly the kind of place where people like Jessica get what they deserve. David sat beside me, arms crossed, watching as my lawyer, Miss Carter, a sharp-eyed woman in her 40s, flipped through the documents I had sent the night before. She paused on the security footage stills, the ones of Jessica kissing Jason on the porch, her lips pressed together. This is strong evidence. I exhaled. I need to make sure she doesn't walk away from this thinking she won. Miss Carter nodded, tapping her pen against the desk. Adultery laws vary, but in our state, this footage gives you leverage. Add in the false accusations to your employer? That paints a very bad picture of her. David grinned. So what's our move? She leaned forward. We hit her fast. A fault-based divorce filing citing adultery. We request a larger share of assets due to her actions. And if she tries to fight, we bring in character witnesses, your employer, HR, me, to show she's manipulative and dishonest. I sat back, absorbing it all. Jessica had spent the last year sneaking around, thinking she was untouchable. But the moment she realized I wasn't playing her game anymore, she panicked. And now I was making sure she had no way out. 2 p.m. The papers are served. I got the call while I was grabbing lunch with David. She's been served. Miss Carter's voice came through the phone. And let's just say, she didn't take it well. I smirked. Oh, tell me everything. She threw a hysterical fit, screaming, cursing, demanding to know if you really wanted to do this. I laughed. Now she's asking that? Yup. Miss Carter sounded amused. And when the server left, she called our office immediately. She wants to talk to you before things go too far. David snorted. Too far? Didn't she just try to ruin your career? I shook my head, smiling. Tell her I have nothing to say. She can deal with my lawyer from now on. Jessica made her move. Now, she was about to see what happens when you bet against the wrong man. Jessica never called me after getting served. She knew I wouldn't pick up. Instead, she spent the next 3 hours blowing up David's phone. Tell him to stop this. We don't have to do it like this. This is humiliating, David. He's making it worse than it needs to be. David, being the loyal friend that he was, didn't even bother responding. By the time 6 p.m. rolled around, Jessica had moved to her next desperate tactic. My parents. I was at David's place when my mom's name lit up on my screen. I sighed, already knowing what was coming. Hey, Mom. A beat of silence. Then, I just got off the phone with Jessica. I closed my eyes. And, Mom inhaled sharply. She's saying you're trying to destroy her, that you're making this messy for no reason. I let out a humorless laugh. No reason. She cheated, Mom. Then she tried to get me fired. Mom hesitated. She left that part out. Of course she did. Look, I continued, rubbing my temple. I know she's calling everyone and their mother trying to control the story. But you know me. You really think I do all this out of spite? Mom sighed. No. I hate seeing things turn so ugly. I softened. Me too. But that's on her, not me. A pause. Then quietly, I trust you. I exhaled. Thanks, Mom. When we hung up, David leaned against the counter, shaking his head. She's really unraveling now. I smirked. And we're not even done yet. Jessica had spent years building a perfect image, social circles, reputation, status. Now, I was watching it collapse. And she had no one to blame but herself. By the next morning, Jessica was done pretending. No more fake confidence. No more smug little smirks. Because now, she knew she had lost. I was drinking my coffee when the final message came through. Can we talk? Just us. No lawyers. I stared at the screen for a moment before smirking. No, Jessica. We can't. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. Because at that exact moment, my lawyer was filing the paperwork that would officially end this nightmare of a marriage. Jessica had spent so long thinking she was the smartest person in the room. The one who could twist any situation in her favor. She never thought she'd be the one left scrambling. And now, she was finally out of moves. 2 weeks later, I walked out of the courthouse, free. No ties, no guilt, no second thoughts. David was waiting for me outside, leaning against my car with a knowing grin. So, how's it feel? I took a deep breath. For the first time in years, my chest felt light. My mind was clear. I smiled, like I just won the best game of my life.